So this is how I actually took this business from 0 to 1.5K in ad spend and $300,000 a month from just $200,000 a month in just 1 month, basically using the exact strategy here. I'm going to talk about how to structure that account, the overall strategy, how we got about creative, everything basically. And really important, take this and apply this to your business. I'm going to make it as everything as possible. I try to show you as much as possible from the account and the ads. I can't guarantee you anything because I obviously have gone in trouble with that in the past, and in general, it's not the best thing to do because obviously I respect my partner here. So just to be clear, this is a fashion brand. So just to be clear, I want to touch first on where what were the bottlenecks previously and how we restructure campaigns for the best in the long term. And there's massive progress so far, but even more in the long term because now it's a bit tricky. Right now, when I'm actually recording this video, it's just before Black Friday, it's early November, so things have slightly dipped and expecting a lift towards the 15th plus. But just to be clear, the previous challenges were obviously they were struggling with new customer acquisition. They were heavily, for some reason, the previous guys, um, they thought a great idea to have a 50-50%, maybe even more to be honest, split between prospecting and remarketing. So you can see it really allowed to get new people into the funnel and into the business. So as you can imagine, just by simply rotating and adjusting the spend, it did wonders. The second bottleneck, which one of the most common I see, did they have a certain creative testing procedure to allow creative learnings, iterate on the winners, and scale faster. They were just throwing everything under one campaign and they're just hoping that that will work. Number three mistake, they actually used like this business actually runs some promo kind of sales campaigns. So they actually merged the BAU offer, the BAU products, the full price products and core products with the promotion ads at the same campaign and same ad set, which means obviously Meta will have people the majority of the spend into the promotion because it got obviously better results, better front end performance, click through rates, everything was better obviously because it was an offer. But as you can imagine, the margins are lower. Ideally, we don't want to be on that constant promotion kind of campaign because it doesn't really communicate well from a brand standpoint. So let me actually go into the exact strategy what we did first. So in order to get from 0 to $500 a day to 1K a day, it's super important that we have two separate environments. And by separate, I mean we have the creative test campaign was first introduced, and we have one scaling campaign. I really want to focus on these three. The marketing piece, in my opinion, is pretty easy once you have an actual good top funnel process here. So the creative test campaign was one of the most important things. Really focused on creating high converting ads from the start. Another bottleneck that the business had was not having great assets and not utilizing a lot of different styles of ads. So we went back, and the first thing we did, as boring as it may sound, was actually researching who we are targeting, at what segment they are of the audience. So are we targeting a product aware kind of segment? Are we targeting a problem solution, a problem aware? Are we targeting a solution aware kind of a segment? In this occasion, at first, when you go from 0 to 500, 1K a day, it's super important that you focus on the warmest audiences first, which is going to be the product and solution aware segments. So they know they have a problem, they know the solution. We just here to introduce a better version and make our brand aware that it is the definite answer to the problems. So, from a messaging standpoint, that's super important. I know it might sound a bit confusing, and I'll make a separate video of that. But it's basically just calling out in your ad targeting exactly this kind of customer. So, for example, it could be like, are you looking to get rid of X? Or are you struggling with X problem? Or here's how I got rid of X problem in Y Z time frame. Now, as you can see, very specific. We address a very specific pain point, a very specific customer avatar in that occasion, and that's why it worked so well. Now, that's from a messaging standpoint and creative standpoint. From an actual creative style, we focus on feature pointing statics, and we focused on testimonial statics as well, and we focused on like very USP led and value prop led creatives. Again, really showcasing the most important stuff here, the brand. And we focus on statics first because obviously the brand we actually work with doesn't really have enough assets from a video perspective, but also it's the lowest hanging fruit. If you struggle with assets, like statics are pretty easy to source. You can even go on Canva in some occasions, depending on your brand, or you can just have your internal graphic designer to do them. But most importantly, this is how we identified like winning messaging, winning headlines that we can now take and we took actually into maybe some UGC kind of content, into some more video kind of content without needing to spend all these resources creating the video from scratch and don't even know if it's actually going to work. So that's the whole thing. How we actually went there. I want to start specifically about strategy on the account. So the creative test campaign space is pretty straightforward. We focused. I like to test at least. I like to test in two main ways. The first one, when I started off the account, and in general, to be honest, in some occasions it's better, is sorting. We have a creative test campaign. This is an MBO setup, as you can see here. The ad set, the budget is on each ad set, and that way we ensure that each creative gets enough spend so we can make clear learnings. We sort our tests by angles. So for example, let's say that one angle in your business might be, I don't know, bestsellers or best-selling messaging, and then the other one might be back in stock messaging, or it might be sustainability messaging, or it might be whatever. You can find whatever if you do your research, the angles that or the pain points maybe of how you're gonna sort your creatives and your creative tests. So we're gonna sort each test by different ad set. So on ad set level, we have 3 to 5 ads most of the time that we test and we see what's actually resonating the best and it gets the best performance. We let Meta side. There's another way that we like to test. I'm not gonna go into this specific example. I think it will be very very hard. It might be just be overwhelming. The other one is briefly we take if we have very different concepts. So that's why it makes a lot more sense after a few months of spending the account when we have full confidence what's working, what's not, and we just split testing a few things. Is to use pocket theory. So we have one ad duplicated 2 times. That's why we do this to ensure that Facebook, TikTok, Google, whatever, will deliver our ads to make sure that we know if that's a winning or not. Because obviously, Meta, TikTok, Google will deliver ads to different segments of the same audience. So, for example, you might deliver the ads for someone like, let's say, in California, and someone in I don't know in someone in New York, for example, and for some reason it doesn't really resonate on that specific segment in New York. So we really want to hedge our bets and ensure that is actually a winning creative. We started the test. We started testing. I like to start testing around CPA level. That's why you see $50 here. So we aim to get at least one conversion a day. Have clear kill points on our test, so it doesn't really go too much. So the kill point will depend on if you guys have a lead gen business. I like to do like even 5 to 6 times CPA because obviously it's much easier to get a lead. And we have an e-commerce business, especially above $100 AOV, it will be around again that 3 or 4x, but it can be even lower, like 2x if it's like very high ticket and stuff. But yeah, that's how we structure the creative testing procedure. Again, we use a very systematic approach in creative testing. I've done a separate video for that. And we're gonna identify some winners. And what we did then, the first step is we obviously started iterating on those winners. So we took the winning ads and through ad macro optimization, which is a process I've done a video here, we take one winning ad and we turn it into 50. That really help us with creative output, but most importantly, it help us stay around the winning ad. One of the most common mistakes I'm seeing is people just move away from the winning ads completely and they just test new concepts without having any idea why. And that's a recipe for wasting ad spend and a recipe for really don't scaling and high CPA, to be honest. So that's what we did. Obviously, that's another procedure. But most importantly, I want to focus a bit on scaling as well and why we have two separate campaigns. Honestly, we could just even have the scaling campaign, which is basically just another top of funnel campaign. It's an MBO campaign as well. Here, one core audience, we like to test the way we scale. So we use broad audience, we're gonna use broad audience here. This is all the winning ads from the test campaign. And a winning ad, in my definition of winning ad, is 10 conversions at a CPA target. Once we've hit that, we promote it to the core campaign and we really focus on getting out of the learning phase. So we're hitting 50 conversions a week here, ideally, and we just try to push more spend behind what's winning. And we need to adjust after a few weeks the spend to go towards 80% into the scaling campaign and 80% and 20% in the chest campaign. This is how we're gonna set the CPA down and start making progress as we scale. So again, ABO setup, very, very simple, three to four ads max at the start, and then we promote the new ads there that are winners. We have another audience that I will just introduce like very recently, just a couple, another idiot stack, but for the most part, you can see very consolidated structure, not a lot of things going into it, very focused on creating testing at the start, and then we can play with more advanced strategies. The AAC Plus is a way to scale a bit more aggressively horizontally. We now, again, as I said, we are at a Black Friday season, and so we're gonna push a bit more budget. The client is comfortable with that, and the AC Plus campaign was something that's working very well before we took over, and so it's just something that we just testing. So far, it doesn't do that well, but we're still gonna give it a few days, see how it does. So honestly, we just focus on these two campaigns. You can reach 1.5K a day. Then you can start playing around with adding a few more audiences or adding another scaling environment. But scaling vertically, which means just adding budget here on an asset level, 20-30% every 2 or 3 days, it does wonder. If you want to scale more aggressively, I recommend introducing another asset but a higher budget or just a different, maybe scaling setup. You might experiment with a CBO setup afterwards, but make sure you really have in mind that you're gonna get out of the learning phase and you have enough spend to get out of the learning phase. Now that's the strategy. You can see it's very, very simple to get one to zero to one with 5K days. If you want help guiding there, if you want to learn more, click the link below and we can actually work together. But yeah, that's pretty much it from that account.